Never waste a good crisis. And when it comes to the economic crisis, don't waste it when it can have a very positive impact.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste.
The way we're going to win over the long term is not just militarily. We've got to win over hearts and minds. And what that means is we've got to invest in countries that have no educational infrastructure, have no means for young people to get ahead. We've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
Stay tuned for politics and religion.
Well, this comes to us in the news. Actually, it comes from an email from a news item. And that is that E-Verify is being implemented now. I had mentioned E-Verify as a program that was coming. And what's happened is E-Verify now is mandatory for all businesses that do business with the federal government. Now, E-Verify is another way to register every person in the United States of America in a database. And, of course, that puts us all under control. Now, let's face it. There's a tremendous pressure right now with all of the illegal aliens to try to get this problem under control. And the best way to do that is to go to the workforce. Because if you can't work, it's very difficult to stay here in the United States of America. So this new program is called E-Verify, which of course merely means electronic verification. And what it requires is that when a person comes to apply for employment, they must be checked by the employer electronically with a database maintained by Social Security and Homeland Security. If their name is not in this database, then they have to be told of that, and we cannot hire you if you don't get this corrected. They then must contact the Social Security Administration and Homeland Security in order to get their name officially put in the legal workforce of the United States of America. Now, that sounds reasonable. It sounds right. What's wrong with it? Number one, we haven't had it in the history of this country. Number two, this puts every person's ability to eat, to live under the control of the government. It is a huge interference into personal freedom. So I know people are going to say, well, if we're not doing anything wrong, then why not? The problem is laws are designed not to enable the government to control us, but to protect us from government. It has to be in our minds that most fatalities caused in the last 150 years have been caused by government. Whether you want to talk about the 20 million killed by Stalin, the 60 million killed by China since its takeover of China in 1949, whether you want to talk about World War I, World War II, and all the other conflicts, abortion, however you want to define it, by far the largest danger to you and to me is government. So our laws, our Constitution, our Bill of Rights is designed to protect us against government out of control. And government, by its very nature, continues to reach for power, and you have to continually build hedges against that encroaching government. Now, let's say that every person in the United States were in this database. And then let's say that there arose a government that didn't like certain political views. Let's say that they didn't like homeschooling. Then they would find out who your children were by using your Social Security number and all the records you're required to submit. And if your children are not registered in a public school facility, they then could say, where are your children going to school? Well, your reply would have to be, I'm homeschooling my children. Sorry, it's not allowed. We cannot tolerate a parallel society being built. Now, you may think that we're building a case here that's absolutely preposterous. But the fact is, that's exactly what's going on in the country of Germany, one of our good allies. And throughout Europe, there is this mentality against homeschooling because homeschoolers are doing it because they don't agree with the morals that are being taught in the public school system, with the values, with the belief in one world government, with the belief in homosexuality. And so you're trying to keep your kids out of the mainstream, and we're trying to build this global society. Consequently, we need a way to control you. Now, that's where this all goes. And I'm not telling you it may go there. I'm telling you, according to the prophecies of your Bible, it is going there. So we have E-Verify. Sounds so good until you realize where it's going. You realize it's going to control. It's a bad idea.